second, is that right, version of the Team Unstoppable call. I am Mitch Messer, your host, and we are going to talk about real estate deals and try to get some problems solved and some resources shared. I put this graphic up always when we start this call, or at least I try to put it up, just to remind people that the goal here is not to not make mistakes. The goal here is not to not get knocked down, not to scrape your knees. The goal is to never stop. I can't tell you how many times I've been knocked down pretty severely in some cases, but I don't lose because I don't stop. And so I'm okay with getting bumps and bruises, but I want for myself and for all of you to become unstoppable, to create the mindset for yourself that you're going to do what you have to do, no matter what it takes to get yourself moving so that you don't stop. So, Matthew, what you got?
Yes, sir. So I had started last week, and I have been sending out probably about 7 to 10 messages a day, 5 days a week. And I've been using, basically the sample messages that I got from one of your videos. And so I was sending those same exact messages. I think I got suspended from, and I created a Google Voice phone number that's a Tulsa, Oklahoma area code. And I believe it's because they call it spam, or it's considered spam or whatever, because it's just going out. I don't know if the suspension is going to be for just today through tomorrow. They said something about perhaps 24 hours. So I'm hoping to get it back. I was talking to, there's Daryl right there. He gave me some tips on some, because I think, ran into the same issue. And he says to change up the message, 2 or 3 different messages. And that's how he got around it. So I'm bummed because, I can't do anything until this unless I guess I get a new number or do my personal number. But that's what I'm dealing with right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did see your message on the Slack channel, and I saw Daryl's responses, and they were dead on. And the suspension is temporary, so it's not like they destroy your account until you can never do this again. They just basically they pause you so that you can't keep doing it. And the solution is, as he points out, just to customize to some extent the message so that it's slightly different. You can use the address. I don't typically use her name. I'll typically modify it with the address so that, calling about 123 Main Street, or I'm calling about 546 Elm Street, so that it doesn't look like the exact same message. And that way you can get around that particular challenge. But I just want to be clear, that restriction is only on your ability to text, correct? You can still call, you can still receive calls.
No, it did not let me call. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Did I call? I think I did try to call, because today I messaged, or I received a message this morning from one of the group that I sent out. If you've got a serious offer, I'll listen, or something like that. So I was like, oh, cool. Here's somebody I can at least get back to. And I first messaged them, can we set up a call? And it didn't go through. And then I was like, oh, heck. And then I tried to send out they weren't going through. And I tried to do a test on my phone. It wasn't going through. I'll call from that number through Google Voice. And I think that was suspended too. I'm sorry. I'm for some reason not remembered. But I just kind of feel like I'm stuck right this second.
Well, you'll be stuck for 24 hours or so, and then you'll be able to proceed. And then you'll have a mechanism for not getting stuck in the future. I won't say 100% sure. I thought I was sure. Maybe Daryl knows for certain that getting you flagged doesn't shut down your entire account. It just shuts down your ability to text. And if that's true, then you should be able to call. But again, I won't say that as absolute truth, because I don't remember. It's been a while since I've had that happen. So the main initial steps from seller marketing to seller manager, or seller marketer, seller manager, are: step 1, you got to contact the seller. You have to at least send a text, make a call, do a ringless voicemail, somehow get somebody to, or attempt to get somebody to respond to your inquiry. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about in a second. And then once you get people to respond, the few people who don't say, go jump in a lake, you want to engage with those people. You want to have a conversation with them and see if you can find out where the pain is so that you can try to solve it. Then the next thing you want to look to do is to prepare this A to B purchase and sale agreement, or PSA. And then you're going to send that A to B PSA. And then hopefully you're going to get that A to B PSA accepted. Now, these are not the only steps, but these are the first 5 steps on the path to closing a deal. How many people here contacted a seller? Just raise your hand. Yeah, exactly. everybody, and that's awesome. I urge you, for your own sanity's sake and your own persistence sake, to keep track, at least on a weekly basis, how many sellers you have attempted to contact or contacted, successfully contacted. So if you sent a text out to them or a ringless voicemail out to them or called them, that's a contact in my book. When they respond back to you, that's a response. So keep track of both. You have no control over how many people respond, but you have complete control over how many people you try to reach. So that's a number that you have complete control over, and you're going to want to monitor that number and ideally try to grow that number over time. So having said that, of all the people that contacted, which is everybody, contacted a seller, how many people actually spoke to a seller? I had a meaningful conversation, awesome, with the seller. That's fantastic. That's obviously the next step, is to engage. And the more you do it, the better you become at it. There's no magic to it. There's no special script. There's no thing that you have to say. You each have your own style. And I say, don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Just be authentically yourself and focus, as I typically say, on their problems. Because if you focus on their problems, most of these sellers will talk your ear off. You have to force them to get them off the phone, because they're going to want to tell you all their stuff. So having said that, anybody prepare a purchase and sale agreement in the last 2 weeks? If so, raise your hand. Okay, we got 1 out of 3, not bad. And again, you're not going to necessarily have one every single week, but the more you contact and the more respond, the more opportunities you'll have to send an offer out. Okay, and of those 3, that's fantastic. Of those 3, did you get any sign? I know the answer, but did you get any sign?
No.
Not yet. The answer is not yet. So,
Not yet.
And that is the point of this thing. This is all a numbers game. The sellers don't know us, right? So this is not personal. They're not saying, "Oh, I don't like that, Matthew, I'm not going to respond." They have a problem, and they're just trying to figure out who out there can solve it. And if you can resonate with them, then they'll call you back, and then you'll have the conversation, and then you'll take the next step. So you have no control over whether or not you connect with the seller. All you can do is make the attempt, and then maybe you make that connection, maybe you don't. But if you do, then you get the right to go on to the next stage, and then the next stage, and the next stage. So my point in saying all this is that if you're not getting the kind of results that you want, and this goes for me as well, you've got to up your numbers, because that's the only thing we can control. We can't influence the sellers until they call us back. So all we can do is try to reach more of them and have more people that are kind of rattling around in our system to be able to try to serve. Cool. Okay, so I just wanted to, but I like the fact that you guys are actively trying to interact with and engage with sellers, because that's the only way that you're going to get deals done. And it is a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm not impressed with somebody who does 100 in a day unless you do 100 every day. Doing 100 in a day and then doing nothing for the next 100 days doesn't really help you. I'd rather see consistency on your part, 7 a day, 10 a day, 5 a day, whatever your commitment is, to meet that commitment, and then start gradually trying. It's like weight training, just to start gradually increasing the resistance that you can handle, so that you can do more and more of them, and that you can get smarter and smarter doing them. So if there's a way to, for example, I think Megan mentioned last time, there's a way to automate some of the texts using an add-on for, I think it's Chrome, that lets you use Google Voice to send multiple messages out, then that's a good thing. If there's a way that you can engage ringless voicemail so that you can reach multiple sellers in one fell swoop, those are also good things. It lets you multiply your efforts. So we'll be looking for ways to do that. But the most important thing is to stay with it. Hey, Chad, to stay with it and continue to focus on trying to get your numbers up and keep track of who you're talking to. The first is I want to talk about Chad. So perfect timing, Chad. And this is less of a spreadsheet issue. It's less of a technical deal underwriting issue and more of a perspective, or I guess perspective is the right word. And that is, you're talking to a seller and they say something like, "Well, I've got somebody else looking to make an offer, so you're going to need to make your offer soon." Now, in Chad's case, it wasn't exactly a seller. I mean, it wasn't a buyer with an offer. It was an agent. They were currently for sale by owner, and they were transitioning into, we think, a listed property. But But this was a situation where the seller said, and you get this false sense of urgency, right? You got to make me an offer real fast because I got somebody else who's making me an offer, or you're going to make me an offer real fast because I'm about to get it listed with an agent. And my comment to Chad, and I'll say it for the group, is that first of all, I'm not interested in an auction scenario. I'm not going to be bidding with somebody else to try to get the best deal, because A, that rarely results in a good financial outcome for either party. And B, I know that we can close. I know that we can get this thing done. And I also know that a lot of people that are making offers on properties can't. So I'm not going to compete against somebody that I don't even know if they can actually close. So when people say, hey, I've got another offer, my typical response is, congratulations. A, when you get that offer, or before you sign that offer, give me a call and let me see if I can beat it, or match it at least, if not beat it. And I say that because I want them to wait till they're about to sign it. And I want them to think about me. I want me in their head. And I'd love to have an opportunity for them to tell me, hey, this is the offer I got. If you can beat that offer, I'll go with you. So I'll typically say, before you sign it, just shoot me a text, drop me a line, and let me know what I need to do to beat that offer. Do they often do that? Sometimes they do. More often than not, they don't. They may make up an offer, but I at least want them thinking about me when they're thinking about accepting another offer. So that's one. And the other thing is, I'll say, hey, look, if you're about to sign that offer, just let me know. Go ahead and sign it, move forward, but let me know when it's supposed to close. Because as I think we all know on this call, there's a huge difference between I got this thing signed and I got this thing closed. And a lot of sellers don't understand that just because you got a purchase and sale agreement does not mean you're going to close. In fact, I would say probably half of the deals that I've seen over time get PSAs for some reason didn't close. And they had to come back to someone like me and admit that they didn't get their deal closed. So I'll say, hey, look, that's great. Congratulations. You found somebody who's interested in paying you way more than I was willing to. But tell me when they're supposed to close and when you're supposed to close with them. And then I'll put it in my calendar to maybe a few days before that date, pick up the phone, follow up with them and just check in, see how things going. Because oftentimes I do that and they go, oh, that buyer is not serious. I don't like them, or they walked away, or they couldn't get it done, or I don't trust them, or there's trouble in paradise, right? And that gives me an opportunity to slide in there and try to get that deal done, especially if the so-called buyer has already walked away and isn't buying any longer. So I don't try to compete with other investors, because in my world, there is no competition. I have no other investors that are competing with me. If you think you've got a deal, knock yourself out, go get it. But let me just find out when you're supposed to close, because then we can have a conversation if you don't close, which is very, very likely. So
don't forget to click the notification bell so you will get updated when the part 2 is uploaded. Hit like and subscribe for more topics like this in Real Estate Skill Set Training channel. Thank you for watching.